Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The house is quiet tonight, with the only sound being the soft hum of the air conditioner. I sit in our living room, a glass of whiskey in hand, staring at the flickering glow of the TV. The sound is muted, and my thoughts wander, unable to focus on anything but the gnawing sense of unease that has been growing inside me for months. We've been married for 6 years now, Claire and I. We met in college, fell in love fast, and never looked back, until recently. Something has been off between us, something I can't quite put my finger on. At first, I thought it was just the stress of trying to conceive. We've been trying for over a year with no luck, and the constant cycle of hope and disappointment has taken its toll on both of us. I've told myself that's all it is, just the strain of wanting something so badly and feeling powerless to make it happen. But deep down, I've known there's more to it. The way she avoids my eyes when we talk, the late nights at work that seem to be increasing, the way she pulls away when I try to get close. It's like she's a stranger living in my house, sharing my bed. I glance at the clock. It's nearly midnight, and Claire still isn't home. She sent a text earlier saying she was out with friends from work, but she hasn't responded to my messages since. I try to shake off the anxiety gnawing at my insides and take another sip of whiskey, but the cold dread in my stomach only deepens. Unable to sit still any longer, I get up and start pacing the room. My eyes drift to the hallway, and without really thinking about it, I find myself walking to our bedroom. I don't know what I'm looking for, maybe just some sign that everything is okay, that she still cares, that I'm not losing my mind. I open the drawer of her nightstand, hoping to find some reassurance. Instead, I find something that makes my blood run cold. Tucked beneath a book is a small blister pack of birth control pills. The packaging is torn open, and several of the pills are missing. My hand trembles as I pull the pack out, staring at it as if it might suddenly explain itself. We've been trying to have a baby for over a year. Why would she need these? A million thoughts race through my mind, each one more painful than the last. Maybe she's been taking them because she's scared, because she's not ready. But the open, empty spaces where pills should be tell a different story, a darker one. My stomach churns with the realization, and I feel like the floor is giving way beneath me. I hear the front door creak open, followed by the sound of Claire's heels clicking on the hardwood floor. She calls my name, her voice light and carefree, as if nothing in the world is wrong. My throat tightens, but I manage to choke out a response. In here. She appears in the doorway, a smile on her lips, but it falters when she sees the look on my face. Her eyes drop to the blister pack in my hand, and in that instant, I see the guilt flash across her face, quickly masked, but not quick enough. Where did you find those? Her voice is strained, higher pitched than usual. In your drawer, I reply, my tone cold, detached, as if we're discussing something mundane. My heart is pounding so hard it feels like it's going to burst out of my chest. Her eyes dart around the room, avoiding mine, and she seems to be struggling to come up with something to say. I forgot they were there. I haven't been taking them. I want to believe her. God, how I want to believe her. But the evidence is right there in front of me, and the part of me that's been suspecting something for so long won't let me ignore it. Claire, I say, my voice shaking now, we've been trying to have a baby. Why do you have these? She doesn't answer. Her eyes are wide and scared, like a deer caught in headlights, and I know she's lying to me. I can feel it deep in my bones, and the betrayal slices through me like a knife. I step closer to her, holding up the blister pack between us like an accusation. How long, Claire? How long have you been lying to me? She shakes her head, backing away from me, tears welling in her eyes. It's not what you think, she whispers, her voice trembling. What am I supposed to think? I demand, my voice rising with every word. We've been trying to have a child, and you've been secretly taking birth control. How am I supposed to trust you after this? Tears spill down her cheeks, and she collapses onto the bed, burying her face in her hands. "I'm sorry," she sobs, her shoulders shaking with the force of her crying. The sight of her like this would have broken my heart once, but now all I feel is cold, hard anger. I can't even bring myself to comfort her. Instead, I stand there, my fists clenched, waiting for her to say something, anything, that might make this all go away. Finally, she looks up at me, her eyes red and puffy. "I didn't want to hurt you," she says, her voice hoarse. "But I've been seeing someone else." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stagger back, almost dropping the blister pack. "You've been cheating on me?" I can barely get the words out. She nods, and I see the shame on her face, the guilt. But it doesn't make me feel any better. It just makes me angrier. "Who?" I demand, my voice raw with emotion. "Who is it?" She hesitates, and for a moment, I think she's going to lie to me again. But then she looks down at the floor, her voice barely a whisper. "His name is Adam. He's a guy from work." Adam. I don't know who he is, but the name burns into my mind like a brand. My whole body trembles with rage. "How long?" I ask, my voice low and dangerous. 6 months, she admits, tears still streaming down her face. "It started out as just a fling, something stupid. But then, I don't know, it got serious." Her words are like daggers, each one driving deeper into my heart. "And all this time, you've been pretending with me? Going through the motions of trying to start a family?" "I didn't know what to do," she cries. "I was confused, and I didn't want to hurt you. I thought maybe I could figure it out, that maybe I could fix things between us. But, it just kept getting worse. I can't listen to this anymore. I can't stand the sound of her voice, the sight of her tears." I turn away from her, my mind spinning with the implications of what she's just told me. She's been lying to me for 6 months. She's been cheating on me, sleeping with someone else while pretending to want the same things I do. The life we've been trying to build together, it's all been a lie. I walk out of the bedroom, my hands shaking with fury. I don't know where I'm going, what I'm going to do. All I know is that I can't stay here, not with her, not after what she's done. As I reach the front door, I hear her voice behind me, small and desperate. "Please, Mark. Don't leave. We can talk about this. We can figure it out." But I don't stop. I can't. If I stay, I might say something I'll regret, do something I'll regret. So I walk out into the night, the cool air hitting me like a slap in the face. I'm numb, my thoughts a chaotic mess, and all I can think about is the betrayal, the lies, and the burning need for revenge. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but one thing is clear, I'm going to make them both pay. I don't sleep at all that night. I drive aimlessly through the empty streets, my mind racing, heart pounding with a mixture of anger, hurt, and disbelief. The city blurs by, streetlights casting long shadows across the pavement, and the dull roar of the engine barely registers as my thoughts circle around what Claire has done to me. When I finally pull into the parking lot of an all-night diner, the sky is beginning to lighten with the first hints of dawn. I'm not hungry, but I can't go home, not yet. The thought of walking back into that house, of facing Claire again, makes my skin crawl. Inside the diner, the air is thick with the smell of fried food and stale coffee. A few truckers sit hunched over their breakfasts, bleary-eyed and silent. I slide into a booth at the back, my eyes gritty with exhaustion, and order a coffee I don't really want. The waitress, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and a kind smile, brings me the coffee and then leaves me alone. I wrap my hands around the mug, letting the warmth seep into my cold fingers, and try to gather my thoughts. It's not just the betrayal that cuts deep, it's the deceit, the fact that she's been living this double life for months while I've been in the dark. And Adam, this guy she's been seeing. I feel a surge of white-hot anger at the thought of him. Who the hell is he? What kind of man sleeps with another man's wife and thinks he can get away with it? I sip the coffee, the bitterness sharp on my tongue, and start to formulate a plan. I'm not going to let this slide. Claire and Adam have taken everything from me, my trust, my hope for the future, the life I thought we were building together. They deserve to pay for what they've done. As the diner starts to fill up with the early morning crowd, I pull out my phone and scroll through my contacts until I find the number I'm looking for. Greg. He's a private investigator I met a few years ago through a mutual friend. He owes me a favor, and now seems like the perfect time to call it in. The phone rings twice before Greg answers, his voice gruff and half asleep. Mark. It's 6 in the morning. This better be important. It is, I say, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. I need your help, Greg. I think my wife is cheating on me. There's a pause on the other end of the line, then a sigh. All right, I'm listening. What do you need? I need you to find out everything you can about the guy she's been seeing. His name is Adam, and he works with her. I need to know who he is, where he lives, what kind of life he has, everything. Got it, Greg says, sounding more awake now. Anything else? Yeah, I say, my jaw tightening. I need to know if there's anyone else involved. Anyone else she's been seeing. Greg is silent for a moment, then he clears his throat. Are you sure you want to go down this road, Mark? Sometimes, the truth is uglier than you think. I'm sure, I say, the resolve hardening in my chest. I need to know everything. All right, he says, his tone resigned. I'll start digging. Give me a few days. Thanks, Greg. I hang up the phone, my fingers trembling slightly as I set it down on the table. I've taken the first step, and there's no going back now. By the time I leave the diner, the sun is fully up, casting long shadows across the asphalt as I walk back to my car. I don't know where to go, so I just drive, letting the miles roll by as I try to make sense of everything that's happened. It's nearly noon when I find myself pulling into the parking lot of a gym I used to go to a few years back. I haven't worked out here in a while, but it's as good a place as any to burn off some of the restless energy that's been building up inside me. The gym is quiet, most people probably out enjoying their Sunday or still recovering from the night before. I change into a pair of old workout clothes I keep in the trunk of my car and head to the weight room, trying to focus on the physical exertion, on the feel of the weights in my hands, the burn in my muscles. But no matter how hard I push myself, I can't shake the image of Claire with this Adam guy, can't stop the questions from swirling in my mind. How could she do this to me? Why wasn't I enough? As I'm finishing up my workout, wiping the sweat from my forehead, I spot a familiar face across the room. It's Jason, an old friend from college who I haven't seen in years. He's changed a lot since the last time I saw him, bulkier and with a few more lines on his face, but there's no mistaking it's him. I almost ignore him, not in the mood for small talk, but he catches my eye and waves, a grin spreading across his face. Mark. Long time no see, man. I force a smile and walk over, shaking his hand. Hey, Jason. Yeah, it's been a while. How've you been? Not bad, he says, clapping me on the shoulder. You still working in finance? Yeah, I nod, though my heart's not in it. You still with that marketing firm? Yep, still going strong, he says with a chuckle. You should come by for drinks sometime. We've got a great happy hour spot we hit up after work. Maybe, I say, though I know I probably won't take him up on it. Jason's eyes narrow slightly as he studies my face, his grin fading. You okay, man? You look. I don't know, a little off. I hesitate, then decide to tell him. What's the point in hiding it? Actually, things aren't great. I found out my wife's been cheating on me. Jason's expression shifts to one of concern, and he lets out a low whistle. Damn, Mark. I'm sorry. That's rough. Yeah, I say, my voice flat. It is. You need anything, man? Someone to talk to, a place to crash. I'm here for you. Thanks, Jason, I say, appreciating the offer. I'm just trying to figure out what to do next. He nods, looking like he wants to say more but isn't sure how. Finally, he settles on, if you need anything, just let me know. Seriously. I will, I say, and I mean it. It's good to know there's someone in my corner, even if I don't quite know what I'm going to do yet. After the gym, I drive around aimlessly for a while, my mind still churning. Eventually, I end up at my sister Lisa's house. She's the only family I have nearby, and though we don't talk as much as we used to, I know she'll understand. When I knock on her door, she opens it almost immediately, her eyes widening in surprise. Mark? What are you doing here? Can I come in? I ask, my voice sounding hollow even to my own ears. Of course, she says, stepping aside to let me in. Her living room is cozy and warm, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. As I sit down on her couch, she sits across from me, her eyes full of concern. What's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost. I take a deep breath, then tell her everything, finding the birth control pills, Claire's confession, the call to Greg. As I talk, her expression shifts from concern to anger to something like sadness. Oh, Mark, she says when I'm finished. I'm so sorry. I can't believe she did this to you. Yeah, I say, my voice thick with emotion. Neither can I. She reaches out and squeezes my hand, her grip firm and reassuring. You're doing the right thing by finding out the truth. But don't let this consume you, okay? You're a good man, and you deserve better than this. Her words hit me harder than I expected, and for a moment, I feel tears prick at the corners of my eyes. But I blink them away, nodding. I know. But I need to see this through. I understand, she says softly. Just, don't lose yourself in the process. I nod again, unable to find the right words to respond. We sit in silence for a while, the weight of everything hanging heavy between us. Eventually, I stand up to leave, and Lisa walks me to the door. Call me if you need anything, she says, pulling me into a tight hug. Anything at all. I will, I promise, hugging her back. As I drive away from her house, the sun setting in the distance, I know one thing for certain, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. I'm going to get the answers I need, no matter what it takes. And then, I'm going to make them both pay for what they've done. 3 days pass in a blur of sleepless nights and restless pacing. I barely eat, barely sleep, my mind consumed by the betrayal and the burning need for answers. Every time my phone buzzes, my heart leaps into my throat, hoping it's Greg with the information I so desperately crave. But each time, it's just a message from work, or a spam email, or nothing at all. Finally, on the 4th day, the call comes. Mark, Greg's voice crackles through the phone, tense and serious. I've got something. Can you meet me at my office in an hour? My heart races as I agree, my voice barely steady. I hang up and grab my keys, barely noticing the fact that it's barely past dawn. I haven't been back to the house since that night. I've been crashing on a friend's couch, avoiding Claire's calls and texts, each one more desperate than the last. I can't face her, not until I know everything. The drive to Greg's office feels like it's happening in a dream. The city passes by in a blur, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles are white. When I finally pull up in front of the nondescript building, my stomach is in knots. Greg's office is tucked away on the 2nd floor, down a narrow hallway that smells faintly of mildew. I knock on the door, and he opens it almost immediately, his expression unreadable. Come in, he says, stepping aside to let me through. The office is small and cluttered, papers and files stacked haphazardly on every available surface. Greg gestures to a chair in front of his desk, and I sit down, my heart pounding in my chest. "Tell me," I say, my voice low and strained. Greg sits down behind his desk and leans forward, his eyes locking onto mine. "It's not good, Mark. I dug into this Adam guy, like you asked. Turns out, he's not just some random coworker. He's her boss." I feel like the floor is dropping out from under me. Her boss. She never mentioned that. "Yeah, and it gets worse," Greg continues, his voice grim. "He's married. Has 2 kids. And from what I could gather, he's got a bit of a reputation for getting too friendly with his female employees. Your wife isn't the first." The bile rises in my throat, and I have to swallow hard to keep from being sick. "How long has this been going on?" "From what I can tell, about 8 months, Greg says, flipping through his notes. "It started around the time she got a promotion. They've been meeting at hotels, mostly. And there's more. I followed her the last few days. She met with him twice, once at a hotel and once at a restaurant downtown." I shake my head, unable to comprehend what I'm hearing. "And she's still taking birth control?" Greg nods, his expression sympathetic. "Yeah. I found a receipt for a refill just last week. She's covering her tracks, but not well enough." The room feels like it's closing in on me, the walls pressing in tighter and tighter. "I can't believe this," I mutter, more to myself than to Greg. "I can't believe she's been lying to me for so long." "I know this is hard, Mark," Greg says gently, "but you needed to know the truth." I nod, though the gesture feels hollow. The truth. That's what I wanted, but now that I have it, I'm not sure I can handle it. "What do you want to do now?" Greg asks, his voice steady and professional. I take a deep breath, trying to clear my head. "I don't know. I can't just let this go. They've both betrayed their spouses. They've destroyed lives." Greg nods, his expression understanding. "I can help you with whatever you decide, but you need to be careful. If this gets out of hand." "It won't," I say, cutting him off. "I just want to confront them. I want them to know that I know. And I want to make sure Claire and Adam get what they deserve." Greg studies me for a long moment, then nods. "All right. I'll help you set it up. But you need to keep your cool, Mark. Don't do anything you'll regret." I nod, though I'm not sure I can promise that. My mind is racing with the possibilities, the ways I can make them both pay for what they've done. But first, I need to see them face to face. Later that day, I sit in my car outside the building where Claire works. Greg has set up the meeting, Adam is supposed to be in his office, and Claire will be there too, under the guise of a work discussion. I'm supposed to wait until Greg gives me the signal, then go in and confront them both. The minutes tick by agonizingly slow as I sit there, my hands trembling slightly. I can feel the anger simmering beneath the surface, threatening to boil over. I take deep breaths, trying to keep my head clear. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Finally, my phone buzzes with a message from Greg, they're both in. Go now. I shove the phone into my pocket and get out of the car, my legs feeling shaky as I make my way into the building. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat, but I force myself to keep walking, to keep moving forward. The elevator ride up to Adam's office feels like an eternity, the doors closing with a heavy thud that echoes in the small space. My reflection in the mirrored walls looks pale and drawn, eyes shadowed with exhaustion and stress. I barely recognize myself. When the elevator finally dings open, I step out into the quiet hallway, my footsteps echoing off the polished floors. Adam's office is at the end of the corridor, the door slightly ajar. I can hear muffled voices inside, but I can't make out what they're saying. I push the door open without knocking, and the room falls silent. Adam is sitting behind his desk, his expression startled, while Claire stands by the window, her face paling when she sees me. "Mark," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "What are you doing here?" I close the door behind me and step further into the room, my gaze locking onto Adam's. He's exactly what I expected, tall, well-groomed, with the kind of self-assured arrogance that makes my blood boil. "I'm here because I know," I say, my voice cold and steady. "I know about the two of you." Adam's eyes narrow slightly, his expression hardening. "I'm not sure what you're talking about, but this isn't the time or place." "Don't lie to me," I snap, cutting him off. "I know everything. I know about the hotels, the dinners, the lies. I know you've been sleeping with my wife." Claire gasps, her hand flying to her mouth as tears well up in her eyes. "Mark, please, let's just talk about this." "Talk?" I say, my voice rising. "You want to talk now? After months of lying to me? After months of cheating on me with this?" I gesture to Adam, my words dripping with contempt. "This scumbag?" Adam stands up, his expression angry now. "You need to calm down, Mark. This isn't going to solve anything." "Calm down." I take a step closer, my fists clenched at my sides. "You think I'm just going to let this go? You've both destroyed everything. My marriage, your marriage, everything. And you want me to calm down?" Claire is sobbing now, tears streaming down her face as she pleads with me. "Mark, please, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen." "Save it," I say, my voice cutting through her cries. "I don't want to hear your apologies. I just want to know why. Why did you do it?" She looks at me, her eyes full of pain and regret. "I don't know," she whispers. "I was lonely, and things between us, they weren't the same. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, and I'm so sorry." I shake my head, feeling numb. "It's too late for that, Claire. It's too late for everything." Adam steps around the desk, his expression cold and calculating. "Look, we can handle this like adults. There's no need to make a scene. You're clearly upset, but we can work this out." "Work this out?" I laugh, the sound harsh and bitter. "You think I'm going to just walk away and let you off the hook? You think you can just sweep this under the rug?" He glares at me, his jaw clenched. "I suggest you leave now before things get ugly." "Oh, things are already ugly," I say, my voice low and dangerous. "But I'm not going anywhere. Not until you both understand what you've done." I turn to Claire, my heart breaking at the sight of her tear-streaked face. "We're done, Claire. This marriage, this life we built, it's over. I hope you're happy with him, because you've destroyed everything we had." She breaks down completely, sinking to the floor as sobs rack her body. I don't feel pity for her anymore, just a hollow emptiness where my love for her used to be. I turn back to Adam, who is watching me with a mixture of anger and unease. "And you," I say, stepping closer. "I'm not done with you. You're going to regret ever coming into our lives." He opens his mouth to respond, but I don't give him the chance. I turn on my heel and walk out of the office, the door slamming shut behind me. As I step into the elevator, my hands are shaking, and my heart is pounding, but I feel a sense of grim satisfaction. The confrontation is over, but the battle has just begun. I'm going to make sure they both pay for what they've done, no matter what it takes. The days that follow the confrontation at Adam's office are a blur. I move through life like a ghost, disconnected from everything and everyone around me. I don't return Claire's calls or texts, and I've made arrangements to stay at a friend's place indefinitely. I'm just trying to keep it together, but the anger and betrayal gnaw at me constantly, and I can't shake the feeling that there's more to the story than I know. Greg continues to dig into Adam's life, feeding me bits of information, his financial records, his family life, his other potential indiscretions. It becomes clear that Adam is a serial cheater, someone who uses his power and position to manipulate those around him. Claire was just another conquest, another notch on his belt. The thought makes me sick. Then, one afternoon, Greg calls me with something new, something that sends a chill down my spine. "Mark, I found something," he says, his voice tense. "You need to see this in person. Can you meet me at my office?" I agree, feeling the familiar knot of dread tighten in my stomach. The drive to Greg's office is tense, and when I arrive, I can tell from the look on his face that whatever he's found is serious. He closes the door behind me and hands me a file. "Take a look at this." I open the file and find a series of emails, printed out and highlighted. They're from Adam's work account, addressed to various contacts, lawyers, real estate agents, even a private investigator. "What is this?" I ask, flipping through the pages. "Keep reading," Greg says, his voice grave. I skim the emails, my heart pounding as I start to piece together what I'm seeing. Adam has been planning something big. He's been working with lawyers to quietly transfer assets, setting up offshore accounts, and preparing for a sudden departure. It looks like he's planning to disappear, to vanish without a trace. But it's the last few emails that make my blood run cold. They're addressed to Claire. In the emails, Adam is instructing Claire to follow his lead, to pack up her things and be ready to leave on short notice. He's talking about leaving everything behind, his family, his job, his life in the city, and starting over somewhere new. And he's telling Claire to do the same. I can barely process what I'm reading. Claire wasn't just cheating on me, she was planning to leave me for this guy, to disappear and start a new life with him. All those nights she came home late, all those excuses about work and friends, it was all a lie. She was preparing to walk away from everything, from me, and I never saw it coming. Greg watches me closely as I process the information. "It gets worse," he says quietly. "There's more in here about a life insurance policy. One that Adam took out recently. On you." The room spins, and I have to sit down, the weight of everything crashing down on me at once. "What are you saying?" I ask, my voice shaking. "I'm saying Adam might not just be planning to leave," Greg says carefully. "He might be planning to make it look like you disappeared, or worse. And Claire was in on it." My mind reels as I try to comprehend what he's saying. "You think they were planning to kill me?" "I don't know for sure," Greg admits. "But it doesn't look good. They were planning something, and with the life insurance policy, it's possible they were going to try to stage an accident or something worse." I can't believe what I'm hearing. It's like something out of a movie, not real life. Claire might have been planning to kill me. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone, was plotting to end my life with another man. I need to confront her, I say, standing up abruptly. I need to hear it from her. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Greg asks, concerned. "You should be careful. If they're dangerous." "I have to know," I say, my voice hard and determined. "I have to hear it from her." Greg nods reluctantly. "Okay. But let me know where you're going, and be careful." I leave his office, my mind spinning with a mixture of fear, anger, and disbelief. I can't wait any longer. I drive straight to our house, no, her house, I correct myself, because it's not ours anymore. Nothing is. When I pull into the driveway, Claire's car is there. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves, and walk up to the front door. My hand trembles as I unlock it, and I push the door open, stepping into the house that used to be our home. Claire is in the kitchen, her back to me as she stands at the counter. She turns when she hears the door, her eyes widening in surprise. "Mark," she says, her voice shaky. "I didn't expect you." "Don't," I say, cutting her off. "Don't pretend like everything is normal." She blinks, her expression confused. "What are you talking about?" I know everything, Claire, I say, stepping closer, my voice cold and hard. I know about Adam. I know about the emails, the plan to leave. I know about the life insurance policy. Her face drains of color, and she takes a step back, her hands trembling. Mark, don't lie to me. I shout, my anger boiling over. Just tell me the truth. Were you planning to kill me? Were you going to disappear with him and leave me for dead? Tears well up in her eyes, and she shakes her head frantically. No, Mark, it's not like that. Then what is it like? I demand, my voice breaking. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you were ready to betray me in the worst possible way. She sobs, covering her face with her hands. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want any of this to happen. Adam, he convinced me it was the only way. He said we could start over, that we could have a new life together. And you believed him? I ask, my voice full of disbelief and pain. You were going to throw away everything we had for some fantasy. I was scared, she cries. I was scared of losing him, of losing everything. I didn't know what to do. I take a step closer, my heart pounding in my chest. And what about me, Claire? What about us? Did you ever think about what this would do to me? She looks up at me, her eyes full of tears and regret. I'm sorry, she whispers. I'm so sorry. I never wanted it to go this far. I didn't know how to get out. I shake my head, feeling a wave of cold, hard anger wash over me. It's too late for that. It's too late for everything. There's a long, heavy silence as we stand there, staring at each other, the weight of everything that's happened hanging between us. Finally, I break the silence. I'm leaving, I say, my voice cold and final. I'm filing for divorce, and I don't want to see you again. Ever. She sobs harder, collapsing to the floor as she clutches at her chest. Mark, please. No, I say, my voice like steel. It's over, Claire. We're over. I turn and walk out of the house, slamming the door behind me. As I step into the sunlight, the reality of what just happened begins to sink in. I feel a strange sense of relief, mixed with a deep, aching sadness. The life I thought I had is gone, destroyed by betrayal and lies. But I survived. I'm still here, and I'm walking away. As I drive away, I realize that I'm finally free. Free from the deception, the pain, the betrayal. Claire and Adam are out of my life for good, and I'll never look back. The road ahead is uncertain, and I know it won't be easy to move on. But as I leave the past behind, I'm determined to build a new life, one that's built on truth and trust, things I'll never take for granted again.